Down where the river learned my story, where the cattails bend and sway, water whispered round my ankles all the things I'd thrown away. There were seasons I stopped praying, there were nights I could not sleep, so I carried all my heartache to the banks where waters weep. Crickets hummed a low confession, fireflies wrote lines in gold, and the moon hung like a lantern, watching secrets I'd not told. In the hush beside that water, with my shoes tossed on the sand, I felt something in the current reach up soft and take my hand. I said, Lord, I'm tired of hiding, tired of running from your face. And the river kept on moving like an answer full of grace. Down where the river learned my story, every scar began to breathe. In the ripples I saw mercy, washing all that clung to me. You were standing in the shallows, hands as steady as can be. Down where the river learned my story, you were waiting there for me. I remember childish summers when we played along that bend, skipping stones across the surface, thinking youth would never end. Mama used to hum a chorus while she washed us from the shore, saying, baby, when life hurts you, come back to this stream once more. There's a God who knows this river, knows the mud beneath your toes, knows the moments you feel guilty, knows the shame nobody knows. Those old words came back like thunder, even though her voice was gone, and the breeze across the water felt like her still cheering on. So I whispered, if you're listening, if you still can make me new. And the river pulled in closer, like it recognized the truth. Down where the river learned my story, every failure lost its weight. You were there within the silence, you were kind and you were great. I could feel you in the current, in the soft forgiving breeze. Down where the river learned my story, you brought this rebel to his knees. I stepped deeper in the water till it wrapped around my waist, felt the chill against my edges, felt the grime that could be erased. Stars were watching from the tree line, owls were calling from the pines, and the whole creation waited as you crossed my tangled lines. Then you spoke, not loud or fire, not with flashes in the sky, but a quiet, certain whisper that could make a grown man cry. You've been running with your shadows, you've been drowning in your doubt, but I've walked beside this river while you tried to shut me out. Down where the river learned my story, truth flowed deeper than my past. Every label I had worn out couldn't fight your love at last. You were cleansing what I carried, you were cutting loose the chains. Down where the river learned my story, grace ran wilder than my shame. So I knelt beneath the surface, closed my eyes and held my breath, let the water wrap around me like the echo of a death. every thought of who I'd been. In the years I lived alone, fell away beneath that river like a stone on sinking stone. When I rose up from the shallows with the moonlight on my face, I could feel the weight had shifted, I could taste a different grace. Crickets kept their gentle music, frogs kept pulsing in the dark, but the song inside my chest now had a bright, redeeming spark. Let this river tell the story of a heart you brought back home. Let its current sing of mercy every time it's left to roam. Let the reeds along the edges wave like choirs in the night. For the God who owns these waters turn my blindness into sight. When I'm tempted by the distance, when old habits call my name, bring me back beside this river where you met me in my shame. Let me hear the gentle splashing as a sermon to my soul, saying, son, I never left you, I've been here to make you whole. If tomorrow brings me deserts where no river seems in view, I will carry this night's memory like a hidden stream of you. For the banks may look much different and the sky may lose its glow, but the God who filled this water can bring springs from any stone. And when age has been my shoulders, when my footsteps start to slow, I will think about this evening by the river's gentle flow. I will tell the younger pilgrims who feel lost and split apart how you met me in the shallows and rewrote my watermarked heart. Down where the river learned my story, you were standing calm and kind. Every current carried kindness, every eddy changed.
The clay jar kissed the table with a gentle earthen sound, echoing like ancient footsteps in a monastery bound. The page of lettered scripture turned with whispers slow and deep, like the breath of hidden prophets moving softly while they sleep. A distant bell rang faintly from a chapel built in stone, calling wanderers through silence to a grace they've never known. Then a lyre's trembling shimmer glided lightly through the air, like a call from old ascetics teaching hearts the weight of prayer. And the room grew filled with stillness in a warmth so pure and mild, as if heaven bowed in quiet just to meet a broken child.
For the clay-worn hush of ages holds a truth both firm and slight, where the tired find restoration in the low and gentle night.
Monastery whispers through the clay-worn quiet calm, pull my trembling into song, through the echoes of my failures, through the wounds that beg for balm. Monastery whispers through the clay-worn quiet calm, lifted me like healing's balm. I stepped nearer to the candle where the monks had prayed for years, where the stone was smoothed by kneeling from 1,000 human fears. The walls were thick with history, with the sighs of saints and thieves, where repentance rose like incense as the faith-worn washed their sleeves. And I whispered, Lord, I falter, I have wandered far from rest. But the echoes sang an answer through the chambers of my chest. Every footfall on the flagstone felt like prayer beneath my heel, like the ground itself was teaching what my heart forgot to feel. Then the jug's faint earthen resonance returned like holy drum, marking each confession's rhythm until peace began to come.
For you speak in dusty hallways, in the scent of ancient oil, saying, child, I walked before you, I am here in all your toil.
Monastery whispers through the clay-worn quiet calm, turn my fear to gentle balm. In the hush of heavy pages, in the warmth of monk-like song, monastery whispers through the clay-worn quiet calm, made my heart release its qualm. I sat down upon a stone bench, carved by hands of days long past, where the lamplight's yellow shimmer moved like grace that bloomed at last. The silence in the cloister grew so wide it felt alive, like the breath of God had entered every shadow it could thrive. You were present in the small things, in the jug, the bell, the page, not in thunder, not in lightning, but in peace that knows no age. All the nights you carried heartache were not meant to break you down. I have knelt beside your sorrows, I will trade them for my crown. And the lyre's fragile ringing seemed to echo what you said, as the monastery stillness wrapped its warmth around my dread. Monastery whispers through the clay-worn quiet calm, turn my anguish into song, through the echoes of old burdens, through the tears I tried to qualm. Monastery whispers through the clay-worn quiet calm, held my spirit in your palm. I traced fingers on the scriptures where the leather cracked with time, feeling every living heartbeat written line by trembling line. The candle's flame was steady like a watchman of the soul, guarding prayers that once were broken till they rose and became whole. And I whispered, Lord, I'm grateful for the quiet, for the stone, for the clay that bore the water when I thought I walked alone. The air grew warm around me like a chapel filled with dawn, and the weight of years of sorrow slowly loose and slowly gone. Even stillness sang your mercy in a tune so faint and bright, like a lullaby for pilgrims finding shelter in the night.
Guide me through the cloister narrow, Guide me where the saints still tarot. Guide me when my doubts grow harrowed. Guide me, Lord, with hands unmarrowed. Lead me where the lamps burn steady. Lead me when I'm torn, unready. Lead me with your
The study room lay quiet, where the lamplight brushed the stone, and the echoes of the ages made the silence feel like home. A pencil tapped the notebook with a rhythm soft and slow, like a heart that long was burdened, learning how to breathe and grow. The ink bottle creaked open with a whisper thin as dust, like the secrets of the scriptures, waiting patient in their trust. Then a wooden chair slid gently on the floor of weathered gray, and a flute breathed through the doorway like a wind from far away. In that lamplit ancient chamber, soaked in warmth of amber glow, I felt heaven drawing closer to the places I don't show. For the stone floor holds a reverence, like forgotten monastery air, where the weary find a silence that becomes their healing prayer. Stone floor devotions in the lamplit room tonight pulled my spirit back to life, through the pages torn with heartache, through the truths I failed to write. Stone floor devotions in the lamplit room tonight lifted me from inner night. I leaned close above the notebook, where my hand began to shake, letting memories spill softly like a dawn that longs to wake. Every line I etched in quiet felt like ashes turned to seed, like the pain that once enslaved me found its place to intercede. The lamp flame wavered gently, casting halos on the page, and I saw my written heartache like a story aging sage. I whispered, Lord, I've carried too much sorrow for too long, and the stillness breathed an answer like a low forgiving song. The stone floor felt like altar carved for souls with trembling knees, holding all the weight of heartbeats, praying through their histories. For you read the lines between them, every tear and every scar, saying, child, I wrote beside you, you were never wandering far. Stone floor devotions in the lamplit room tonight made my broken feel alright, in the ink of deep surrender, in the warmth of sacred light. Stone floor devotions in the lamplit room tonight turn my fears to second sight. The shelves were lined with journals worn by hands of saints before, and their whispers filled the lamplight as if drifting from the floor. I could almost hear their footsteps where the stone was rubbed and thin, where they knelt in midnight hours, letting heaven pull them in. And you met me in the stillness with a voice so low and warm, like the quiet after thunder, when the air forgets the storm. Every chapter you are writing is a prayer I hold with care. Every word you fear is failure, I've already mended there. Then the flute's faint breath returned in a refrain, both soft and true, as the study room grew brighter with a peace that felt renewed. Stone floor devotions in the lamplit room tonight brought my darkness into sight, through the hum of fragile pages, through the hush that shaped my fight. Stone floor devotions in the lamplit room tonight pulled my soul to what is right. I rode slowly through the tremors of a heart grown worn and old, letting ink reveal the places I had hidden from the fold. The lamplight warmed the paper like a gentle guiding hand, and the shadows bowed around me in a reverence unplanned. Lord, I'm grateful, cross the pages like a trembling thread of grace, as the stone beneath me softened into something like embrace. Every breath within the chamber felt like mercy's quiet hymn, and the truths I feared to wrestle slowly learned to rise and swim. The ancient air grew sacred, filled with silence carved and deep, and the study room felt holy in a way I'd longed to keep. Guide me through the written sorrows, guide me through forgotten tomorrows, guide me through the ink that borrows. Guide me, Lord, where healing follows. Lead me where the lamp shines steady. Lead me when my heart's unready. Lead me with your grace so heady. Someday when the lamplights of this world fade out in rest, when my final breath is written on the page within my chest, let the
The rooster's call was drifting down the valley in the dawn, and the old farm gate was shaking like it wanted to move on. The dew was heavy on the fence posts, shining pale against the ground, and the fields looked tired and empty from the years they'd circled round. I pushed open that wooden gateway with a heart worn thin and weak, hearing echoes of my failures in the hinges' tired creak. Then a fiddle sang one trembling note that lingered in the air, like a fragile morning blessing for a soul in need of prayer. And before I whispered anything, before I found a plea, the sunrise poured its mercy through the gate in front of me. For the morning felt like kindness, breaking through the night's away, like the Lord himself was waiting at that rusted awakened gate. When the morning found me standing in the gate, grace stepped in to shift my state. Through the silence of the past I feared, through the nights my courage disappeared. When the morning found me standing in the gate, hope returned. I walked slowly through the pasture, where the grass was tipped in light, where the world felt strangely gentle after all my inward fights. I remembered seasons bitter, when my pride became a chain, when I wandered far from wisdom and mistook my wounds for gain. But the morning kept unfolding like a promise unfulfilled, painting gold on every furrow where despair once kept me still. And the breath of God seemed rising from the soil beneath my feet, like a quiet, steady heartbeat from a home I'd failed to meet. Then I heard a distant whisper in the bending of the grain, as if heaven spoke forgiveness through the wind across the plain. And the sunlight touched my shoulders like a father's tender call, saying, child, I saw you falling, but I held you through it all. When the morning found me standing in the gate, fear dissolved beneath its weight. All the guilt I'd carried silently softened in the open air and free. When the morning found me standing in the gate, love rose up to recreate. I knelt down beside the trough where the rainwater had pooled, saw my reflection ripple faintly, tired eyes no longer cruel. For the years had carved a story in the lines around my face, of a wanderer returning bit by bit to needed grace. And the cattle in the distance lifted heads as if they knew that the dawn was telling secrets only saints and strays pursue. Then the wind picked up the hay dust, swirling slow around my knees, like a halo shaped by struggle after countless miseries. And the gate behind me closed itself with one small gentle sway, like the past had turned its chapter and released me into day. When the morning found me standing in the gate, all the lies fell out of date. Every bitter thought I'd harbored lost its power to dictate. When the morning found me standing in the gate, I believe in something great. walked toward the old barn doorway, where the dust hung thick and blue, where my father used to labor with a grit both fierce and true. I could almost hear his humming of a hymn from long ago, one he sang to keep his spirit steady through the evening's glow. And I wondered if that memory was your way of pulling me toward the kind of strength he carried, quiet, humble, brave, and free. For the morning wrapped around me like a warm, unbroken vow, saying, son, the life you've longed for has been waiting here somehow. And I knew that when the sunrise touched the barn's old wooden frame, everything inside my spirit found its pulse and found its name. Guide me when the daylight fades, guide me when the heart grows afraid, guide me when old debts parade, guide me, Lord, through every shade. Lead me where the fields grow wide, lead me where the hallway of the chapel held a stillness deep and long, like a quiet kept for centuries where broken hearts belong. My footsteps echoed softly on the stones, worn smooth by tears, by the prayers of weary pilgrims, by the faith of ancient years. I reached the heavy doorway where the saints once knelt to cry, where their sorrows met the ceiling and their hopes were raised on high. Then the wooden door swung open with a breath of dusty air, like the church itself remembered every soul who entered there. And a single organ whisper trembled deep within the room, like a voice that said, I'm waiting, you can lay aside your gloom.
For the echoes in that chamber felt like mercy carved in stone, and I knew before I entered I would not be left alone.
When the old church door opened back my heart, every shadow fell apart. Through the silence and the trembling, through the wounds I dared not chart, when the old church door opened back my heart, grace began its holy art. I walked inside the sanctuary where the wooden pew stood still, where the late afternoon sun filtered through the windowsill. Dust was swirling in the light beams like a quiet golden rain, and I felt the weight I carried loosen gently in my frame. All the years of running empty, all the storms I tried to hide, met the hush of ancient worship that no sorrow could divide. And I pictured all the lost ones who had sat here just like me, trying hard to find forgiveness in the shadows of their grief. Then the organ sighed again, master in a quiet human form.
You were not in loud revival, not in crowds or flashing light. You were in the wooden silence, soft as dawn before the night.
When the old church door opened back my heart, shame was torn from where it started. Through the fading sun and empty aisles, through the ache of all my trials, when the old church door opened back my heart, love redrew my broken chart. I touched the ancient pulpit where the finish cracked with age, where the preacher poured out sermons line by line upon the page. I imagine weary voices singing hymns from long ago, filling rafters with their longing, letting hidden comfort flow. And I knew that I was standing where the lost had come to kneel, where the faintest cry for mercy met a God who longs to heal. Then a shaft of light fell softly on the Bible's open spread, and the verse upon its parchment almost seemed to glow instead. Come to me, all heavy-hearted, I will give you rested rest. And the truth within those letters pulled the thorns from where I bled. When the old church door opened back my heart, fear unraveled, torn apart. Every echo in that hallowed room chased away my inner gloom. When the old church door opened back my heart, faith returned as gentle art. I sat down upon a pew where the varnish flaked with time, where the wear of countless stories marked the road of the divine. And I let the quiet hold me like a blanket near the fire. Let the echoes of this chapel soothe my soul from deep desire. For the God who shaped the sunrise and the stars beyond the dome was the God who met me humbly in this wooden, dusty home. And I breathed the prayer of longing, breathed the sigh I'd built for years, letting all the brittle memories wash away in cleansing tears. As the organ breathed its final note, so soft it barely stirred, I felt heaven bend to listen to the weight of every word.
Hold me in the ancient still. Hold me when my doubts distill. Hold me when my
The rain was tapping steady on the chapel's rusted roof, like 1,000 gentle fingers offering quiet, tender proof. that the night was still forgiving, that the world could still be kind. Even hearts like mine could open, even storms could change their mind. The wooden pew beneath me creaked with every breath I gave, as if telling me that mercy lived in places worn and brave. I stared up at the rafters where the shadows love to roam, wondering how long it'd been since my spirit felt like home. Then a single cello tremor moved like thunder through my chest, and the rain began to soften as if heaven offered rest. In that dim little lonely chapel where the night forgot its fear, I felt something deep and holy drawing unexpectedly near. When the rain on the rooftop became my revival, hope returned without denial. Through the storm outside and the ache within, grace seeped through like a violin. When the rain on the rooftop became my revival, I felt love become survival. I remembered broken evenings where the world felt cold and tight, where the silence in my bedroom nearly stole away my light. I remembered all the secrets that I swore I'd never speak, and the prayers I bury somewhere in a heart too tired to seek. But the rain kept tapping softly like a sermon for the lost, counting out the hidden rhythms of the wounds I couldn't toss. Then the pew beneath me shifted like it recognized my frame, like it knew the weight of choices that had wrapped me up in shame. And I whispered, Lord, I'm fragile, I don't know what I believe. But the rain kept flowing gently as if pleading me to breathe. And the cello's trembling echo, though it only played one sound, held a warmth I could not measure, held a truth I'd never found. When the rain on the rooftop became my revival, strength returned like a long-lost rival. All the doubts I'd fed for years fell away with salted tears. When the rain on the rooftop became my revival, grace felt wide and undeniable. Lightning flickered in the distance, but the thunder stayed away, like the night was giving mercy, letting sorrow have its say. I closed my eyes and let the memories roll gentle through my mind, realizing in the darkness how your love had stayed behind. You were there when I was broken, when I ran from every call, when I chose the path of shadows, thinking I'd outrun them all. But the God who shaped the storm front wasn't angry, wasn't wild. He was whispering in raindrops like a father to his child. And the pew creaked slightly forward as if leaning into me.
like the wood itself remembered what redemption's meant to be. When the rain on the rooftop became my revival, fear gave up its cold arrival. Every drop became a hymn, washing guilt from limb to limb. When the rain on the rooftop became my revival, I felt love break each cycle. I rose slowly from the pew, feeling courage catch my spine, as the storm outside grew softer like it sensed a holy sign. The stained glass shimmered faintly with the lanterns burning low, colors dancing in the raindrops like a quiet healing glow. I walked forward to the altar, placed my trembling hands in prayer, letting everything I carried filter slowly in the air. And the rain upon the tin roof felt like heaven tapping near, like the heart of God was knocking just to let me know He's here. And I breathed out all the burdens I'd been holding through the years, letting grace replace the shadows, letting peace replace the fears. Hold me when the storms return, hold me through the nights that burn. Every fear became survivable through the storm light and the quiet, through the breaking of the riot. The desert wind was wandering like a prophet through the night, dragging dust across the mesas in a veil of silver light. Somewhere far beyond the ridges came a coyote's lonely cry, like a soul that's tired of running, calling wisdom from the sky. I stood still beside the sagebrush with my heartbeat slow and thin, feeling all my past mistakes rise like ghosts upon my skin. Then the stones beneath my boots gave one soft rattle in the sand, like the earth itself was whispering that redemption's close at hand. And before a word escaped me, before fear could take its claim, the desert wind blew gentle and it softly spoke your name.
For the wilderness grows holy when the night is wide and bare, and the God who shapes its silence often meets the lost ones there.
Where the desert wind carried your voice to me, every sorrow bent its knee. Through the emptiness and moonlight, through the doubts that would not flee, where the desert wind carried your voice to me, hope returned like prophecy. I walked slowly past the sandstone,
chipped by years of storm and heat, past the crevices where scorpions found their midnight pulsing beat. Every canyon seemed to whisper of the stories carved in pain, of wanderers who traveled lonely, seeking meaning in the plain. And I felt myself among them, broken, tired, and wandering blind, chasing shadows of forgiveness, leaving truth so far behind. But the desert in its rawness held a message deep and clear, that the God who shaped its vastness had been walking ever near. Then the moon rose up in glory, painting gold on ancient stone, and I sensed you in the stillness, saying, "Child, you're not alone."
And the shifting sands grew sacred, held a kindness faint but true. Every grain of dust in moonlight seemed to turn my heart toward you.
Where the desert wind carried your voice to me, fear dissolved like scattered debris. In the hollows of the mesas, in the night's eternity, where the desert wind carried your voice to me, grace grew wild and brave and free. I climbed up a jagged ridgeline where the air grew thin and high, where the world below was trembling and in a haze of ancient sky. Looking down across the valley where my failures had been sown, I could feel a quiet courage growing roots within my bones. For the wind that brushed my shoulders wasn't cruel like nights before. It was warm and strangely tender, like you opening a door. And your whisper swept beside me, soft as sand beneath the rain. You were more than all your heartache, you're not bound to yesterday's chain. Then a peace I'd never tasted wrapped around me like a cloak, breaking every lie I carried, every vow of shame I spoke. Where the desert wind carried your voice to me, chains fell off and I walked free. Not with thunder, not with lightning, but with whispered clarity. Where the desert wind carried your voice to me, love rewrote my history. I descended through the sagebrush where the night grew soft and warm, feeling all the weight I kindled up like dust before a storm. Let the winds of heaven greet me like the ones that called me near. Let the mesas glow with glory in a sky that's crystal clear. Let the angels hum a welcome like the coyotes once did too. Let the sands reflect the mercy that I once found deep in you. For the night you called me gently in that desert wide and free was the night my weary spirit found the strength to bend the knee. Where the desert wind carried your voice to me, I was found the seashell chimes were ringing, where the shoreline met the blue. Every note a tiny whisper of a world I never knew. The morning tide was gentle as it crawled across the sand, painting silver on the driftwood like a touch of heaven's hand. I walked barefoot through the cool salt, feeling time fall off my bones, hearing echoes of forgiveness hidden deep in ocean tones. Then a single steel guitar note drifted soft upon the breeze, like a fragile call from somewhere past the breakers and the seas. And before I spoke a single word, before I breathed a plea, I felt grace move through the coastline, wild and wide and calling me. For the wind that stirred the seashells held a whisper clear and clean. I can wake what grief is buried in the places no one's seen. Where the shell wind sang my heart away, every sorrow learned to break. Through the sea foam and the sunrise, through the wounds I tried to fade. Where the shell wind sang my heart away, love began. For mercy's sake. I knelt down beside the water, where the footprints disappear, where the waves erase the burdens left by pilgrims passing here. I remembered nights of hurting, nights I begged for sleep to stay, but the silence grew too heavy and my hope slipped far away. Yet the ocean in its patience never hurried, never cried. It just held the moonlit stories of the ones who nearly died. And I realized in that moment, as the tide washed across my feet, that the God who shaped the water still made broken hearts complete. The seashells chimed again then, ringing high above the foam, like a choir of whispered angels calling weary sailors home. And the morning wind grew holy as it carried through the air all the words I'd been avoiding, words you longed for me to hear. Where the shell wind sang my heart away, all the guilt began to shake, like the soft retreating tide line, drawing mercy in its wake. Where the shell wind sang my heart away, grace rewrote what shame would make. Seagulls circled in the distance, drawing patterns in the sky, while the low hum of the shoreline felt like tears refusing dry. I sat down beside an anchor, rusted through by years of storms, thinking how my soul resembled every scar upon its form. But the sunlight broke the water with a shimmer pure and thin, and I felt your presence rising from the quiet deep within. You've been drifting with your heartache, you've been sailing lost and numb, but I followed every tide pool just to see if you would come. And the wind blew through the shells again, a trembling gentle sound, as if heaven used the ocean just to keep me grace-bound. Where the shell wind sang my heart away, fear grew smaller with each break. Bring me where the shell wind whispers what my weary heart can't speak. And someday when the storms are past, when my breath grows slow and thin, when the last horizon opens and you call my spirit in, let me walk along the shoreline where the waters never cease, where the shells ring out with gladness in a language shaped by peace. Let the chimes swing in the heavens where the wind is always new. Let the tide reflect your kingdom in its everlasting blue. For the day you found me hurting on the dawn-lit quiet break was the day the shell wind singing pulled my heart from death's own ache. Where the shell wind sang my heart awake, every chain began to shake. By the water, by the sunrise, by the love no storm can fake. Where the shell wind sang my heart away, I found grace for mercy's sake. And someday when the storms are past, when my breath grows slow and thin, when the last horizon opens and you call my spirit in, let me walk along the shoreline where the waters never cease, where the shells ring out with gladness. The windmill turns so slowly on the harvest-worn frontier, groaning low like fading thunder, only humble hearts can hear. Corn kernels tap the wood bin in a rhythm old as trust, falling soft like tiny prayers, echo gently through the dust. A woodpecker drummed faintly from a pine beyond the shed, while a harp's faint ringing shimmered like a whisper for the dead. And I stood beside the fence line where the fields lay gold and still, feeling heaven bend toward earth light in a hush that broke my will. For the morning felt like scripture, breathed in amber, warm and real, as the windmill kept on turning over wounds I'd failed to heal. For the fields bear sacred stories in their rows of toil and pain, where the weary find their refuge in the mercy of the grain. Windmill blessings over harvest-worn fields wide, pulled my sorrows to your side, through the years of faded courage, through the storms I could not ride. Windmill blessings over harvest-worn fields wide, lifted me like morning tide. I walked slowly past the hayloft, where the ropes hung rough and long, where the echoes of old workers sounded faint like distant song. Every bale still held a memory carved in sweat from seasons past, where the humble learned endurance in the winds
winds that seldom last. I remembered all the burdens that had bent me down with grief, all the prayers I whispered softly, hoping time would bring relief. But the windmill creaked above me like a father's steady arm, as if God himself were saying, you are safe here on my farm. And the sunlight swept the weed heads with a touch so soft and kind, smoothing out the tangled places hidden deep within my mind. For you speak through humble labor, through the straw and through the dust, saying, child, I've walked beside you in the grind of earthly rust. Windmill blessings over harvest-worn fields wide, turn my darkness into pride. Through the aching of the seasons, through the doubts I tried to hide, windmill blessings over harvest-worn fields wide, stood me up where truth can bide. I sat down beside the tool shed, where the sickles lay to rest, where the handles smoothed by decades felt like burdens once confessed. And the wind blew through the fence slats like a choir in the grain, singing softly through the furrows where the weary plant their pain. You were present in the stillness, not in glory, not in might, but in warmth that brushed my spirit like a lantern trimmed with light. All the droughts that shaped your spirit were not meant to drain your soul. I have watered every shadow so your faith could grow more whole. And the field before me shimmered with a promise gold and new, like the harvest of redemption breaking through the morning dew. Windmill blessings over harvest-worn fields wide, showed me love I can't divide. Through the worn-out rows of memory, through the hopes I once denied, windmill blessings over harvest-worn fields wide, turn my fear to strength inside. I rose slow and walked the ridges where the soil cracked from the heat, where the boots of tired farmers wore the earth beneath their feet. The quiet felt like temple walls carved out of humble stone, filled with unseen choir of voices whispering you're not alone. Lord, I'm grateful, left my lips like seeds cast soft into the wind, for the years of silent mercy planted deep in discipline. The windmill hummed above me like a timbered gospel drum, marking every step of healing as the early hours would come. And I felt my heart grow lighter in the breath of autumn air, where the harvest met forgiveness in a field stripped clean and bare.
Guide me through the rows of sorrow, guide me toward your golden morrow, guide me where the weak hearts borrow, guide me, Lord,
from depths so narrow. Lead me through the broken season,
of this earth has reached its close. When